Good morning on this fabulous Monday for your edition of Everything Yesterday This Morning. Anyone that comes to me this morning and says, I thought last week was your last show, be like, you didn't watch till the end, did you? Okay. The mutilated bodies of 6 people were found on Thursday in a vehicle in southern Mexico. Authorities said the latest gruesome discovery in a country riven by gang-related violence. A statement from the Attorney General's office of Guerrero reported that the severed heads of 6 men were discovered on top of a Volkswagen abandoned in a busy boulevard in the town of Chilapa del Alvarez. In Chilapa, so this is a quote. There was a sign that was found on at the site. It said, in Chilapa, selling crystal, kidnapping, extortion, and stealing are strictly prohibited. This will happen to anyone who messes around. Capital punishment is the sentence for all these crimes. Across the country, more than 340,000 people have been killed in a wave of bloodshed since the government deployed the army to fight drug cartels in 2006. On Sunday night, 20 people were killed at a venue to host cockfights in the town of Las Tinajas. I don't know. An American mother was among the victims, but I bet we'll never hear her name or know who she was. But if she had died in Ukraine, we'd know exactly who she was. The Biden administration will end the Trump-era pandemic restrictions, which is also known as Title 42, that effectively blocked migrants from entering the United States on May 23rd. The U.S. CDC announced Friday Trump invoked a public health authority known as Title 42 at the onset of the coronavirus pandemic, a move that was immediately met with skepticism by immigrant advocates, public health experts, and even officials within the administration who believed it to be driven by political motivations. Yet, the Biden administration continued to lean on Title 42 in spite of objections from his allies. Quote, after considering current public health conditions and an increased availability of tools to fight COVID-19, such as highly effective vaccines and therapeutics, the CDC has determined that an order suspending the right to introduce migrants into the United States is no longer necessary. The Department of Homeland Security is preparing for a worst-case scenario of up to 18,000 people crossing the border daily, a number sure to overwhelm already full border facilities. So, I told you guys about the new tracking mechanisms that the DHS and ICE are going to be using, the cell phones, because the ankle monitors are no longer working because they're being cut off and not kept. So now we're giving them brand new iPhones where if they get a phone call, they have to answer and it geolocates them. I can't imagine that they'll sell those or toss those. The Biden administration announced in an executive order Thursday that the president had invoked the act. It's the Defense Production Act or whatever, which could boost mining by directing the Defense Department to support feasibility studies for mining projects. The basic idea is that it's funding to stimulate exploration and further investment for mining projects. The basic idea, oh shit, I just said that. I'll have to edit that out. The basic idea is that it's funding to stimulate exploration and further investment in understanding what the options are for producing these materials at home domestically. There's a quote in here by a woman named Jessica Tranick, who's a professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. That's going to boost energy security. Finding the raw materials needed to produce batteries is quickly becoming a key to the energy transition. The hunt for battery metals has already sparked recent investment in companies that are trying to come up with new ways to find and extract the precious metals. Simon Morse, who's the chief executive of Benchmark Mineral Intelligence, which I talked to you guys about last week, and it's a company that tracks data on the electrical vehicle supply chain, said it takes about 7 years to develop a lithium mine, but only 21 months to build a battery plant. As the industry scales up, the dynamic has constrained demand for raw materials like graphite, lithium, cobalt, nickel, and manganese. God, I can't talk today. It's going to a niche industry to mass market. The raw materials aren't growing anywhere near quick enough. After a prolonged decline in prices for these materials are rising fast, and that could threaten, to some extent, the pace of the energy transition. I love this transition they keep talking about, where it's just expected that you're going to change your life around because they're telling you that's what you have to do. The materials necessary for modern batteries are relatively rare, and China outpaces the US in terms of mining, leading to some concerns of trading fossil fuel dependence for dependence on foreign metals. Who said this? Who's been saying this? The Defense Production Act is a federal law that was passed in 1950 that, in its current form, gives the president a variety of powers to direct private companies and resources for national defense. Those powers are split up into different areas, one of which allows for the creation of incentives to stimulate industries. So, I did want to just touch on one element real quick. So, as he's invoking the Defense Production Act and encouraging the mining of these types of materials, the bureaucratic side of the government, so like the EPA and the like, is shutting down these projects because they need to figure out how it's going to affect the environment. So it's like typical with government, right? The two hands don't talk to one another. So they can say that they're doing all of this and that they're trying to create energy independence in other ways, but at the same time, they're not, because the other part of the government is saying, oh, no, you can't do this. So, anyway. Though often associated with wartime efforts, the act has been used by some recent presidents to address non military challenges facing the United States. Donald Trump, for example, used the act to spur private production of medical supplies at the beginning of the pandemic. Obama used it to force telecom companies to disclose foreign made hardware and software over worries about China's espionage efforts, which I'm not sure why he was worried about China's espionage efforts when he was using the NSA to spy on Americans, but I digress. Some environmental groups have expressed opposition or wariness over the measure. Quote, the clean energy transition cannot be built on dirty mining. Earthworks strongly opposes the employment of the Defense Production Act to bolster mining because it adds to the generational trauma experienced by mining affected communities, particularly indigenous communities. That's from the policy director for Earthworks. And adding that the administration should focus instead on acquiring minerals through recycling and by building a circular materials economy. Frequent environmental litigator Earth Justice, which we've mentioned them multiple times on this show, struck a similar tone, with legislative representative Blaine Miller saying it was vital that the order was not to become a business as usual scenario for the mining industry and that mining reforms be implemented. So, like I said, you have environmental agencies, you have lawyers, you have a lot of people within our own government that are like, just kidding. We don't want you to do that. We want you to drive electric vehicles. We don't want you to be independent on how you do that. In a statement released on Sunday, I'm sorry, my allergies are acting up so bad. My eyes are watering. Hang on a second. In a statement released on Sunday, Yo Jong, who is the sister of Kim Jong-un, called the South Defense Minister Su Wook a scum-like guy for raising the possibility of preemptive strikes against its northern adversary. Kim, who South Korea's spy service says is the North's number 2 official behind her brother, further derided Su as, quote, reckless, and warned that the South could face a serious threat. Su made his comments on Friday during a visit to South Korea's Strategic Missile Command, stating that the country is ready and able to launch preemptive strikes should it be determined that the North intends to launch its own attack. North Korea recently began running missile tests again, including its first intercontinental ballistic missile in around 4 years. South Korean President Moon Jae-in, that's how you say his name, has urged for greater reconciliation between the two nations. But the new missile tests appeared to have thrown a wrench into the works. The senseless and scum-like guy dare mention a preemptive strike at a nuclear weapons state, Kim said in a statement released to the North Korean state-run media. South Korea may face a serious threat, owing to the reckless remarks made by its defense minister. South Korea should discipline itself if it wants to stave off disaster. Pak Jong-chon, a secretary for North Korea's ruling Workers' Party Central Committee, also made his own comments in response to Sue. He warned the South that any slight misjudgment and ill statement rattling the other party under the present situation could lead to a dangerous conflict and full-blown war. Should South Korea make good on its talks about preemptive strikes, Pak said the North Korea will mercilessly direct military force into destroying major targets in Seoul and the South Korean army in return. So, as things are tumultuous in all of the places of the world, we're starting to see things heat up rhetorically in the Koreas. I do think that this is interesting. If you've ever looked at somebody and been like, man, that girl is a beep. I think that Kim Jong-un's sister, Kim Yo Jong, or Jong, or however you say her name, she looks like somebody I just really wouldn't want to mess with. She looks vicious, like sadistic, would murder cats just to watch them die. Psychopath. Just, throwing that out there. It seems that United States President Joe Biden's administration is much more concerned with the environment, as we've stated. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration released new federal rules on Friday that would force all new vehicles sold in the United States to average at least 40 miles per gallon in 2026, according to a report. This number is up from the 28 miles per gallon mark that were enacted under Donald Trump and follow global moves to reduce car pollution, like Canada's decision to ban new combustion engine cars by 2035. Transportation is the second largest cost for American families, only behind housing. I would argue that's incorrect. Insurance is probably number 2, but who am I? The new standards will make the country less dependent on foreign oil and gas, helping to preserve the freedom of our country to chart its future without being subject to other countries and to the decisions that are being made in the boardrooms of energy companies. It is expected, or we could, just drill here. It is expected that the price of a new vehicle in the 2029 model year will rise by $1,087 in what is already an expensive market. Meanwhile, several environmental groups still feel the measures are not enough. So, not only are you going to have to pay more for these vehicles, I'm not even going to go there. In a moment that no one was expecting at the award ceremony that nobody watched, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky made a surprise appearance on the Grammy Awards via a remote message urging the millions of viewers to support us in any way you can during the Russian invasion. It was a night filled with virtue signaling all around for Ukraine, with John Legend singing a song, a refugee reciting a poem, and everyone wearing yellow and blue. Zelensky appeared from a bunker in Kiev, according to Variety, which reported that the video was shot within the past 48 hours. Zelensky's appearance comes a week after the Academy Awards, where there were rumors that the former actor might appear. American actor and activist Sean Penn made headlines for saying that if Zelensky didn't make a cameo at the Oscars ceremony, he would smelt his own trophies in public. Here's the thing with this. It's getting a bit excessive, and I'm gonna wrap up here in a little bit and explain why I think it's super excessive. First, a 60-year-old man allegedly had himself vaccinated against COVID dozens of times in Germany in order to sell forged vaccination cards with real vaccine batch numbers to people not wanting to get vaccinated themselves. This man is the hero of the day. The man from and also like, holy hell, the man from Eastern Germany's city of Magdeburg, whose name was not released in line with German privacy rules, is said to have received up to 90 shots against COVID-19 at vaccination centers in the eastern state of Saxony for months until criminal police caught him this month. The German news agency DPA reported Sunday the suspect was not detained but is under investigation for unauthorized issuance of vaccination cards and document forgery. He was caught at a vaccination center in Eilenburg in Saxony when he showed up for a COVID-19 shot for the second day in a row. Police confiscated several blank vaccination cards from him and initiated criminal proceedings. It was not immediately clear what the impact of the approximately 90 COVID shots, which were from different brands, had on the man's personal health. German police have conducted many raids in connection with forgery of vaccination passports in recent months. Many COVID-19 deniers refuse to get vaccinated in Germany, but at the same time want to have the coveted COVID-19 passports that make access to public life and venues such as restaurants, theaters, swimming pools, or workplaces much easier. Gosh, I can't imagine people wanting to be free. 90 shots, man. I don't know. I think this is interesting, first of all, that it's happening in Germany, but that a man would put himself through something like that so that others would not have to do so. So I wanted to give a little shout out to this dude because, I like that kind of vibe. Okay. The National Gallery has altered the title of Edgar Degas' drawing Russian dancers to Ukrainian dancers, prompting calls for other cultural institutions to rethink lazy interpretations or mislabeling of Ukrainian art and heritage. After calls by Ukrainians on social media, the gallery said it had changed the title of the French Impressionist's turn of the 20th century work, which is currently not on display. It is a pastel depicting troupes of dancers, which the artist was fascinated to see performing in Paris late in his life. The yellow and blue of Ukraine's national colors are noticeable in what appear to be hair ribbons worn by the dancers and in the garlands that they are carrying. A spokesperson for the National Gallery said the title of this painting has been an ongoing point of discussion for many years and is covered in scholarly literature. However, there has been an increased focus on it over the past month due to the current situation, so therefore, we felt it was appropriate to update the painting's title to better reflect the subject of the painting. A few weeks ago, a member of the gallery's education department had highlighted the issue while a Ukrainian living in London had used an Instagram to do so. A National Portrait Gallery spokesperson said the gallery was closed while it underwent a major transformation, but as part of its Inspiring People project, was reviewing the interpretation of every work that will be on display in time for when it reopens next year. Referring to the action taken in relation to the Degas work, the spokesperson added, "We are also very open to receiving feedback from the public about specific works and regularly respond to comments shared by our audiences, including those made on social media." We're changing the names of artwork of famous artists. When we talk about cultural Marxism and color revolutions and things like that. We're literally changing history to it's I can't even begin to tell you how frustrating this is for me. Over the course of the Black Lives Matter riots that took place with all of the statues being torn down, you cannot change any race history. You can't manipulate it to benefit whatever your current cause is. History is what it was and what it is. This painting has been called the Russian Dancers since Degas painted it. And the idea that now because there's a war going on, we're just going to change the name of that painting, that's fucking insane. It's so frustrating to me. Anyway, that's your Monday edition of Everything Yesterday This Morning. I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the morning.